Hi, my name is Lauren, and I am recording a travel video to help folks who like to travel but might not feel the confidence to know that they can go a little bit further than they normally do. I've been asked by many people on Facebook, a lot of my friends, if I would make some videos to show folks how to budget to go overseas specifically on a budget. So that's why I'm making this video. I'm also a end-stage renal failure patient, and I have kidney failure, so I'm on dialysis every day. So one of the things that I thought would be important was to include information about kidney dialysis and how folks can still travel, specifically overseas, while doing treatment. I will be only speaking specifically to folks that are on peritoneal dialysis because that is the type of dialysis that I use. A little bit of my background. I've been traveling since I was 3 and probably before. I've gone to many different places overseas. I've also been to various places in the islands as well as throughout the United States and Canada. Travel has always been very important to me. When I was diagnosed in 2015, I was very concerned that I wouldn't be able to travel anymore because dialysis is very tiring and debilitating at times. Many people who are on dialysis also have other medical concerns, so it's difficult sometimes for them to be able to go away. So one of the things I wanted to stress today was just to do your research first, and then go from there. So when you do your research, you want to make sure that you know where you want to go. So that's the most important thing. So that's really step one, is to know where you want to go. The best resources to use to identify where you want to go. Don't go buying all those books from various bookstores and ordering stuff from Amazon to sit and read. I go to the library and I get books. I had a whole bunch of them, and I think I've been getting these books out probably from the library since I would say January, probably. I usually start a little earlier in my trip planning because I'm on disability, and I think I'm very savvy in regards to budgeting, but I still need some time to put some money aside and do various things. So I use the library a lot, and library is a great resource. They have all kinds of books, and I'm gonna be honest with you, there's not a lot of holds on the travel magazines or the travel booklets, so they're really there at your leisure. And then also, once again, definitely do the internet. That's always important to do. There's so many websites that you can use. I would specifically look for threads of folks that travel independently. I know like Independent Traveler is one. I think there's a familytraveler.com or something that you can use. And there's just all kinds of different websites that you can use now to learn about the different countries you want to go to and the best budgeting tips and so on and so forth. I love using YouTube. I've been watching travel videos on YouTube for many years, and Rick Steves is always a great resource. You can find all his videos for free on YouTube, as well as there's a guy by the name of his organization is Walter's World, and it's spelled WOLTERS World. And he does some really cool, like 5 reasons why you shouldn't go to Venice. And I'm making that up. I'm just making that up. But he does 5 different reasons why you'll love Venice, or, different titles like that. And he goes all over the world, and he takes his family, and he's just a really cool guy. I think he's a college professor by trade. But I've been following him, and he's very upbeat and very encouraging, to encourage folks not to be nervous, but to step out and enjoy the culture in the countries that you go to. So those are some resource tips that I would definitely use. The next step is really for people who are on dialysis. The next thing you definitely want to do is talk to your doctor. once you identify where you want to go and when, talk to your doctor about it being feasible. I haven't met a doctor yet that has not encouraged me to travel. The nurses are not so excited sometimes because they don't usually get patients that want to travel because of, once again, they're nervous. So you want to have a conversation early enough with your support staff at your clinic so that they can help you plan. I actually, the company that I go through, they have a travel team through their corporation piece, and I communicate with them. They will ship anywhere throughout the United States anytime you want it shipped. Your fluids shipped to the United States. But then when it comes to overseas, they are very limiting on where you can ship and when and how often. So one of the things that you need to really know is the next step would really be is to talk to your supply company. It's really important for you to identify where they will ship to. There are some countries that I learned that I probably could never go to unless I take my own fluids. And last year I went away for 35 days with my husband and my youngest daughter, and we backpacked, thank goodness, because then we had to take rolling bags, and in each bag I had 15 of bags of fluid that I used for my daily dialysis, in addition to the boxes that were shipped to 2 different locations when I was overseas. And I know I said earlier that you can get you only get one shipment, but I had an advocate at my company at the clinic who was wonderful in assisting me in getting at least a second place delivered to, because there would have been no way for us to carry all those medications throughout Europe. It was just crazy. It was ridiculous because it's 15 bags at 5 pounds each. And my daughter's 14, so it was crazy. But the good thing was, as I used the fluids, then the bags got lighter, so you see what happens. And I'll explain that a little bit more in another video. So it's really important that you know where they're going to ship to. And then also you need to know how far in advance does the company need to know when you're going, and like what type of information do they need to have. They're very specific when it comes to shipping anywhere overseas, and even on cruises. You need to make sure you know the cruise line, where the destination is, because it's for customs purposes. And they will be nice enough to send you like a whole list of things you need to know. But I'll tell you now, you need your passport, you need an ID, you need to know where you're going to stay when you go overseas. You're going to need to know a name of a proprietor, the phone number of the proprietor when you go overseas. I'm trying to think what else. I can't think of what else they need to know right now, but then also the doctor needs to sign off on it. So like the doctor has to write a list, write a letter of approval, and then they have to fax it over before they even start getting everything set up for shipment. But they need to know, like my company needed to know, like I think 2 months ahead. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I let them know 4 months ahead last year, and it was still a fiasco, literally almost up until it was like the deadline time. So I was going crazy, as they were. I was driving them crazy. So it's really important that you know how far in advance do you need to let them know. And I would actually add on another 2 months, to be honest with you, because it's crazy. Also, it's really important to know, of course, unless you live overseas and you're watching this, it's really important that you know what the airlines require. A lot of airlines now are waiving the extra weight fees because dialysis is a medical necessity and you need it. So you need it's a sustaining medication, life sustaining medication. So they can't deny it, and you don't get charged anymore if you're overweight. You just have to notify them ahead of time so they can put a note in the computer. I'm currently dealing with TAP Portugal, because you're flying on that airline to go over to Venice, Italy, and they are working with me to get approval. Because I had to transfer all of my measurements into kilograms, which was going back to 4th grade math, oh my goodness, it was horrible. And I had to do measurements of the suitcase and measurements of each fluid. And I had to weigh the needles, and I don't have any needles that I use normally, but to be safe, I would take some antibiotic just in case I get peritonitis or something, I need to inject antibiotic into my fluids. So it was really interesting how they wanted me to weigh like air. It's like weighing air. Like I have a syringe with nothing in it. I don't know what they want me to do. So I just told the lady I can't weigh it. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. So pretty much I think it was real. It wasn't tedious. The people were very nice on the phone, and they called me actually back 2 times because they had some additional questions, because it's not something they usually deal with. So just be patient and give people enough time. Okay, so make sure you check in with your airline. So now the next major thing you want to know is, what is your budget? Here's the fun part. So how much are you willing to spend? They need to be reasonable. I mean, you do have needs. There's dietary needs that you have when you go overseas, and this is just for people in general. Going overseas can be very tedious. Unless you're a spring chicken, you need food and you need to drink water a lot, and so you need to take into consideration that you need to eat often, and then also you need to take into consideration all of the activities, and there's going to be a lot of walking. So and you also need to pay attention to how much do you expect to spend every day? Like, what are admission prices? Let me give you 2 different tidbits in regards to Europe for folks that are on dialysis, specifically peritoneal dialysis. One of the things that you want to pay attention to is your accommodations. Europe is old. There's a lot of old countries and cities in Europe. They don't have elevators. So you want to make sure that you are finding an accommodation that does not start on the 3rd floor, because some do. You want to make sure that it's easily accessible, that you're able to do your treatment there. I specifically like to do Airbnb as opposed to doing a hotel, just because it's more home comforts, and usually you can find places to hang your bags and be creative in your treatment. A lot more relaxed as well. But you want to make sure that you just kind of do some research on where you want to stay. So I talked about that. Yeah, so it's really also important that you pay attention to what type of activities you want to do. In a lot of the countries, specifically, actually all of them, because we went to Vienna, we went to France, we went to Italy last year, Switzerland, Amsterdam. A lot of the museums were free for people with disabilities. I had emailed ahead. This is where you do your research. I emailed a couple of the major, like the Vatican. I emailed the Vatican ahead of time. I emailed the Colosseum ahead of time. And I found that because I am an American on Medicare, they will still take my card as disability, and I am able to get in free. So all I had to do really was I went on the websites, and you look under tickets, and there's something that might say free fare or reduced pricing or whatever. So you read all that, and they'll say, there'll be a whole list of things, and sometimes they'll say, people with disabilities can get in free along with a companion. So now, mind you, last year we went with my husband, who is also on disability, so he has a Medicare card as well, and my 14-year-old, who number one would be my companion, but also because she was 14, at the time she was 13, a lot of the museums were free for her anyway. So you just have to do your research, and for real, you actually might be able to get through going to all these museums for free, and we did. We got into the Vatican, and actually got us into a special line, because the 2-hour line, we bypassed it. The 2-hour line for the Colosseum, we bypassed it. And I'm not saying that to brag, but sitting outside with a disability, it's tedious, let alone standing in there with being really healthy, 100% healthy. But it's real tedious. You don't have water, you need shading. There's some medications we take that you can't be standing out in the sun. And so it's good that they accommodate. They're very accommodating. So do your research, send an email, and print it and take it with you, because when we got to Versailles, we also got in there for free, and I made that guard read my little email in French, and he let me through. He let me and my husband and my daughter through, no problem. We did have to pay for the gardens, but that was like €15, and I'm not complaining. The gardens were absolutely worth it. So and Versailles is worth it as well, but it was nice that we didn't have to tack it on. Like I said, we're on a fixed income, but it made it workable. So That's why I bring it up. So it's really important that you know what your budget is and what you're working with. How long do you plan on staying? How long are you able to get your medications over? This time when we go away, we're only going for 2 weeks. And that's just because. I mean, it was very tedious to drag all that stuff around. And we just wanted to, we felt that 2 weeks was appropriate to get through Italy. That's not a problem. And then the best way to budget, and this is going to be actually my video number 2, is how to budget on a fixed income and how to set that money aside and, different ways and methods. I'm just going to show you my method and what worked for us. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm going to show you what I did and see if that'll, transfer over to you. So the one thing that you want to do when you consider budgeting is to budget in your travel expenses now. So if you wanted to go away, this is now, we're in April, so you want to go away 6 months from now. So that would be like October. So in October, you'll give yourself a 6-month window to save money. How much do you really think you're going to need? $3,000? Split that up over 6 payments or 6 deposits into your savings account, and that's going to tell you how much you need to save each month. Is that something that's affordable for you?